The spear was wrong, not golden, not carved with runes, not humming with divine power. It was thin, gray, alive only because no one bothered to fear it. Mistletoe. God stood shoulder to shoulder in Asgard's great courtyard. Steel clattered against stone. Laughter rolled like thunder. They were throwing everything they had at one man. Axes shattered, swords bent, arrows dissolved mid-flight. Fire kissed his skin and died. Baldr stood untouched, the god of light, the god of beauty, the god everyone loved. He didn't raise a shield, didn't flinch, didn't fight back. He smiled, and that smile made the others uneasy, because nothing unsettles a warrior like a man who cannot be harmed. Then Loki stepped forward, quiet, smiling, already bored. He didn't aim for Baldr. He aimed for the blind god standing at the edge of the circle. Höðr, a god who heard laughter but never saw the faces. A god who felt the warmth of fire but never its color. A god who had spent eternity being overlooked. "Let me help you," Loki whispered. "Everyone deserves to play." The spear left Höðr's hand. No lightning cracked the sky. No prophecy screamed a warning. Just a sound, wet, final. Baldr staggered. Blood darkened his chest. And Asgard, immortal, eternal Asgard, fell silent. The god who could not die had died, and no one understood why. This is the story of how love failed, how protection became a trap, and how the smallest thing destroyed the brightest god.
Unveil the legends.
Before Baldr fell, Asgard believed itself unbreakable. The halls were loud with feasts. The tables bent under meat and mead. Victory songs echoed into the night. But beneath the celebration was rot. Odin sat on his throne with one eye open and the other lost to knowledge. He wasn't a noble king. He was a man haunted by endings. He had seen Ragnarök, seen the gods drown in fire and blood, seen himself devoured. And when rulers fear the future, they poison the present. Baldr was the opposite. Where Odin gathered secrets, Baldr inspired trust. Where Thor thundered, Baldr calmed. Where Loki twisted, Baldr healed. He didn't conquer, he illuminated. And that terrified them, because Baldr wasn't just loved, he was believed in. People prayed to him not for victory, but for peace. Then the dreams began, dark dreams. Baldr saw himself sinking into shadow. He felt cold earth on his tongue. He heard silence where love should have been. Every night, the same ending. Death, Frigg noticed first. A mother always does. She saw the light dim behind his eyes, the pauses, the tension in his breath. And Frigg refused to accept fate, so she challenged it. She crossed realms, spoke to stone, fire, metal, sickness, poison, blade, beast. She demanded oaths. "Do not harm my son." And the universe obeyed. Almost all of it she overlooked mistletoe, too young, too soft, too harmless. Because gods, like humans, underestimate what doesn't scare them. When Frigg returned, Baldr was untouchable, invincible, and Asgard celebrated. But invincibility is not a blessing. It's an invitation. The gods turned Baldr into a spectacle. They didn't ask his permission. They threw weapons for fun, to test him, to test fate. Every failed strike fed their relief and their resentment, because Baldr's perfection exposed something ugly. If he could not be harmed, then what excuse did the rest have for their fear? Only one god didn't play. Loki watched. He always watched. He saw the way Baldr smiled, patient, distant, unknowable. He saw how the others laughed at him, not with him. And Loki hated lies, especially beautiful ones. So he went to Frigg, not as a trickster, as a listener. And tired mothers talk. She told him about the oaths, about the weapons, about mistletoe. Loki didn't laugh, he thanked her. Then he went to Hggr, the forgotten god, the blind god, the easiest one to manipulate. Everyone else is throwing, Loki said softly. Why shouldn't you? Höðr hesitated, then trusted. because betrayal never looks like betrayal at first. Loki placed the spear in his hands, guided his arm, stepped back. The throw was clean. The hit was perfect. Baldr collapsed. The courtyard emptied of sound. The god of light lay bleeding in the dirt, and the gods learned the truth too late. Nothing is immune forever. Here's the version of the story that rarely survives retelling. Baldr wasn't just killed by Loki. He was sacrificed by certainty. Because once Frigg forced the world to protect her son, Baldr stopped being a god and became an object, a symbol, a proof that fate could be beaten. The gods didn't worship him anymore. They tested him. Every spear thrown was a question aimed at the universe. Are we safe now? And the universe answered. Mistletoe wasn't an accident. In Old Norse belief, mistletoe was a plant that lived between worlds, not rooted in earth, not reaching for the sky, neither living nor dead, perfect. Loki didn't invent the weakness, he revealed it. Because tricksters don't create chaos, they expose it. And Höðr, he wasn't just a pawn, he was the embodiment of exclusion. A god without sight in a realm obsessed with spectacle. A warrior who never saw glory. The only god who never saw Baldr's light. It had to be him, because myths are cruelly precise. And here's the darker possibility. Baldr's death wasn't meant to be stopped. It was meant to begin something. In some interpretations, Baldr represents a false golden age, a peace that exists only because conflict is delayed, not resolved. A calm before collapse. His invulnerability didn't fix Asgard, it froze it, and frozen worlds shatter. After Baldr fell, the gods did something rare. They begged. Odin sent Hermóðr riding Sleipnir through darkness. 9 nights down, 9 realms crossed, into hell. Baldr sat there unchanged, clean, calm, still beautiful. Hell agreed to release him, on one condition. Everything must weep for Baldr. And everything did. Stone cried, trees bent, metal groaned. The universe mourned, but one figure refused. A giantess named Dukake. Her words were cold. Let hell keep what she has. One voice, one refusal, and Baldr stayed dead. Dukake was likely Loki. Even in grief, he twisted the knife, but look closer. Why would a single tear matter if Baldr was truly meant to live? Because fate doesn't break, it negotiates. The gods believed love could override destiny. They were wrong. And the irony cuts deeper. Baldr does return. After Ragnarök, after Odin falls, after Thor drowns in venom, after fire consumes the worlds. Only then does Baldr walk again. Not as a protected god, but as a survivor. The light returns only after darkness finishes its work. Baldr's story leaves behind a brutal truth. The more desperately something is protected, the more violently it breaks. He wasn't lost because no one cared. He was lost because everyone tried to keep him untouched by reality. Wrapped in vows, shielded by love, frozen inside perfection. But perfection is fragile, and fate hates cages. So here's the question worth arguing in the comments. Was Loki the villain, or the only god brave enough to stop pretending? Was Baldr's death an act of cruelty, or the universe correcting a lie too beautiful to survive? Because once Baldr fell, Asgard stopped pretending it was eternal, and fear replaced faith. And if Baldr's death marked the first crack in destiny, then what did Odin do next, knowing Ragnarök could no longer be delayed? The answer isn't heroic. It isn't noble, it's desperate. Because the choices Odin made afterward weren't about saving the world. They were about cheating the end. And that story, the price of knowledge, the sacrifice of innocence, the bargain that shattered everything, is waiting in the shadows, ready to be told.